Before we begin, I'd like to first introduce myself, who I am, and a little bit of my background. So my name is Father Kleanthis Korkotas, and that's a difficult name. Kleanthis is my first name. And my background is in New York. I was born in New York, raised in New York. And my background is that besides being a priest now for 25 years, I was also an assistant principal in a New York City high school. And I've been a teacher in New York City for 30 years. The title of this thing is Living a Orthodox Christian Life. So we're all Orthodox Christians here. And my first question to all of you is, what is an Orthodox Christian? In other words, how are we different from anybody else? Why are we different from, let's say, the Roman Catholics or the Protestants? What does it mean to be an Orthodox Christian? Anybody want to, you don't have to raise your hand if you just want to, raise your hand if you need to. But what does it mean to be an Orthodox Christian? What do you think?
You have different practices.
We do have different practices and ideas, that's true. But what's that? Yeah.
We follow a different calendar.
True, we follow a different calendar, but is calendars and practices the only thing that makes it different?
We fast.
We do, but other faiths fast as well.
We have the unchanged faith.
Yes, very good. So, with Orthodox Christianity, from when Christ came to earth as a human being, because Christ existed, the Son existed before, you know, the Trinity has always been, right? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit has always been. But since he came to earth and left the apostles and joined humanity back with him, because we were in a fallen state, back to him, the Orthodox Church has been a continuous, true faith from then till now. We haven't changed anything. So you hear about the Protestants. You may even have friends that are Protestant, right? You hear about Protestants. There are over 300 religions that are considered Protestants. You have people that are Lutheran, Episcopalian, all those. They all started from one man called Martin Luther. Martin Luther started, he was Catholic, a Catholic monk, and he protested the Catholic Church. That's where the word Protestant comes from. He protested the Catholic Church. And he went against the church, the Catholic Church, the Western Church, not the true Catholic Church, which is Orthodoxy. And by doing that, created all these other religions. The Roman Catholic Church split away in the year around 1054 from the true church and became the Papal Church. They call themselves Roman Catholic, but the true Catholic Church, one holy apostolic and Catholic Church, when you do the creed, is the Orthodox Church. But I'm not here to give you a history lesson. I wanted to talk about how your life, how to live our lives as Orthodox Christians. And the first thing I'm going to say and talk about is, and we have to be honest with each other. If we're going to have a true, meaningful lesson, I want people to be honest here, okay? So I know, I'll start first. When I grew up in an Orthodox family, I wasn't very Orthodox. What do I mean by that? Didn't really fast Wednesdays and Fridays. Church was always a drag. I had to get up on a Sunday, and I didn't want to. Sometimes I wanted to do other things with my friends, and did them, and skipped church, right? So how many of us, we get caught up and we get lazy sometimes to get up in church? I think most of us would probably admit that, right? So, well, nobody's judging anybody here about that. We all feel these things. And the reason is, we put our life and our faith at separate places. What do I mean by that? For most people, it's our life, and then church is something we just go to, like on a Sunday. And then we go back to our life for the rest of the week. And we make our life, what our lives are really is world-centric. In other words, everything that we go, our friends, our school, music that we like to listen to, places we like to go and hang out with, and church is like, oh, okay, I gotta get up Sunday, and I gotta go to church. And then Sunday afternoon, and then that's it. But as a true Orthodox Christian, what we have to try to do, and yes, there are days where it's going to be difficult getting up on Sunday, but church is not just Sunday. Your life as an Orthodox Christian is not just Sunday. You're supposed to be an Orthodox Christian 24/7. All day, every hour, you are supposed to be an Orthodox Christian. Now, so we have to try to change our life from making it world-centric, like our friends, all these things, to making it Christ-centric. Make Christ the center of your life. Make Christ and everything branching out from that. And what do I mean by that? How can we do that? All right, so let's say we're not in church on a Sunday, it's a Monday. How can we make our lives Christ-centric? Can anybody think? Yeah.
Your prayers.
Excellent answer. Your prayers. When should you do your prayers?
Morning, night, before meals.
Yes, I'm sorry?
You got two more.
Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Hello. Please, have a seat.
Should we do it again? You want me to go check? Yeah. I'll come back. I'll bring it to you. I'll bring it to you. Oh, yeah. They'll be right back.
Okay, it's okay. So, prayers. When we wake up in the morning, we should do our prayers. Now, some of you say, well, I gotta go to school, I don't know what time you go to school, but let's say, I'm assuming very early in the morning. Get up a little bit earlier and do your prayers. Before you eat something, do your prayer. Now, by doing this little thing, it's not everything, it's just a couple of minutes, right? If by doing this, you're putting Christ in your life, in your everyday life. If you do a prayer in the morning, if you do your prayer every time before you eat, if you do your prayer just before you go to bed, right there, 5-6 times a day, you're doing prayers towards and thanking God for your life and thanking our Lord Jesus Christ for your life and making Him the center of your life, reminding yourself, because that's what you're reminding. You're reminding yourself that I'm an Orthodox Christian, I belong to Christ, and I'm praying to Him all during the day of my life. But other than prayers, we go through our daily life and we keep on falling into sin. How do we fall into sin? Do we get angry during the day? Yeah. Do we talk about people? Maybe with our friends? And judge people? Right? Do we lie sometimes? Do we get jealous? Often. So all these things that we know are sinful, how can we mitigate these things? Again, through prayer. Prayer doesn't always have to be something that is overt. What do I mean by overt? Does anybody know what I mean by overt? Like that you say out loud. That you're going to do your prayer, read out of, let's say, a book, or if you know the prayers by heart. Prayer should always be going on, even during the day. So like if you're sitting in the seat and you're bored, and you find your mind wandering, especially if it's wandering on things that are sinful, then you can start doing the Jesus prayer. Everybody here knows what the Jesus prayer is, right? Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, right? Hello, ladies. Have a seat. So, can you just do me a favor? Can you just shut the door a little bit? Thank you. So by doing the Jesus prayer, it reminds us that it can also not only remind us, it can also catch us from falling into sinful thoughts and sinful things. Okay. in your age group, more than any other age group, we talk about this thing called peer pressure. It's hard to be an Orthodox Christian in your age group. Why? Because all your friends are not. And even the ones who are Orthodox Christian are not very Orthodox. So you have this huge peer pressure to hang out, to be with your friends, to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done on your own. But now you feel that you're being pressured some way because there's a group environment, right? You're not by yourself. You're with 4 or 5 friends, and those 4 or 5 friends are not very religious. So now you're hanging out with your friends after school and whatever, and one of them says, let's go, I don't know, let's go hang out by the water, let's go into town, let's go to the movies. And there's nothing wrong with doing that per se. But once you get there, all of a sudden you meet up with other groups or other friends. And they they get into things, and some of them may be drinking, right? You're definitely in an age group where a lot of drinking is going on. I know it for confession. And there's drinking going on, and maybe some smoking going on, and things like that. And now you feel, and they offer these things to you, and then you feel kind of in a really strange place, because you don't want to do these things. But you feel that somehow you've been put in this kind of situation. How many of you have been put in this, like that? I'm not saying that you did anything, but I'm saying how many of you have been put in a situation where you're hanging out with friends and they're doing something that's wrong or they didn't want? Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
It was like elementary school, and my
Oh, that long ago? Not now?
now it's like I don't really have like that much friends.
Okay.
So, like, the worst it's been, it's like I never went to friends' houses for lunch, and so one time my friend was like trying to like persuade me to go into her house without my parents knowing, and she would like do it like every single day.
To tell you to go to her house without her parents knowing?
Without my parents.
Without your parents knowing. So why did she want you over her house? And what would you do over the house?
Pardon?
What would you do over her house?
Like, I don't know, just like eat lunch or something. She would just like want me like go to her house and I would never do it.
Okay.
But then she would like kind of like guilt trip me after. Like, oh, like, because you're not gonna like, I'll invite this person instead. And like,
Because your parents didn't want you to go without them knowing that. Yeah. How about anybody else? Anybody been in a situation where you're hanging out with friends and either like they were starting to drink or do things like that? Anyone here like that? Yeah. Oh, why don't you talk about that?
So I was at a party one time,
Yeah, that's where it all happens.
and like everyone around me was drinking.
Yeah,
And it was
probably smoking too.
Yeah, it was my birthday a few days earlier, and they knew that, and they tried to get me a drink.
Did you? I mean, listen, we're all open here to say it. Not that it would have been the worst thing in the world, but I have 2 boys. My older son is 28. He's here today. And my younger son is 24. He's not here, he's in Croatia right now. But they're both sailors, so they're on the ocean. But they were always very open with me as they were growing up. And they were constantly put in those kind of situations. Where they would go to a person's house, it'd be a party, and all of a sudden there's drinking, there's smoking, things going on. And they are forced to kind of like drink along or like even try smoking, and they never did either. But you felt that pressure, didn't you? Now, why did you feel that you didn't want to take part? Like, what made you not do it?
That's kind of
Was it your Christian faith? Was it your Orthodox faith?
part of it.
Okay, and the other part?
Part of this, I play soccer.
Oh, so you're an athlete.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I just don't want that to ruin me.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is, we do not realize that once we start, I don't want to say giving in, but once we start making exceptions, you say, one time, doesn't matter. It becomes a slippery slope. You know what that means? It becomes like, okay, then that. And then before you know it, you say to yourself, where am I? Like, how did I get here spiritually? Because my friends, you know, like, I just did this once, but then that led to this, and that led to that, and that led to that. And then before you know it, you're very, very far. And this is what Satan wants. Satan will do anything he can to try to get you away from church, to get you away from leading an Orthodox life. What's another good way to try to keep us on the path of living an Orthodox life? Besides prayer, besides doing our fast and when we can on Wednesdays and Fridays, that's also difficult to do because we all have friends, we go out, everyone's having a pizza, and you're there, and you're like, oh no. And you can make up something, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, we could do like a cross in like difficult situations. So like, if you're like scared of something, like there's like a party and there's a lot of...
It's always great to do your cross. Unfortunately, we're very, you know, we're embarrassed sometimes to do our cross, which Christ even says in the Bible, right? He says, if you're embarrassed of me, one day I will be embarrassed of you. I know that when I was in high school, very long time ago, but again, I told you I lived in New York City. In order to get to my high school, I had to take the New York City subway, right? Be on the train every day to go to my high school. And that train, before it went under, if you don't know New York City, the train is like elevated, like in Queens and in Brooklyn, it's elevated. And then to go to Manhattan, it goes underground, right? It goes under the Hudson River, and then it's underground in Manhattan. Yeah, sure. And we would always pass by a Greek Orthodox church. And then in high school, I was embarrassed to do my cross. Like, because I'm on the train, everyone's in the train with me, and as the train is going by, and I'm seeing the Greek Orthodox church, I would be like, I should do my cross, but I was embarrassed to do my cross. I remember that. I was being like 16 years old, and I remember having that feeling. So, yes, if you can do it, it's wonderful. We should never deny Christ. I want to bring you I want to tell you about a verse in the Bible that when I was younger used to always confuse me. And I want to ask you, what do you think it means? Okay, because Christ says this. So Christ says in the gospel, don't think I've come here to make things good or easy for you. I'm here to separate father from son, mother from daughter, brother from sister. Do you remember that? Do you know that part in the Bible? Where it says that in the gospel? I'm here to separate father from son, mother from daughter, brother from sister. And when I first read that, I'm like, why would Christ, who's love, talk about, I'm here to separate father from son, mother from daughter? Why is he saying that? Does anybody have an idea what you think he's talking about? If you don't, it's okay, because I didn't know. Anyone want to take a guess? You can guess. There's no wrong answers. Okay, I'll tell you. What Christ is talking about is, you're all calendars, aren't you? You follow the Julian calendar, right? That is what our metropolis is about. Okay. How many of you have relatives or friends who are the same as you, who are also Orthodox, but they follow the new calendar? And they say things like, or your family, especially this comes mostly from family, like aunts and uncles especially. They're like, come on, well, you know, you're a little fanatical with all this stuff. You become like a little bit of a fanatic. You know, you don't have to do this all the time. You don't have to do that all the time. You don't have to fast as much as you're fasting. You're only 16, you're only 17, you're only 15. You should eat whatever you want. You should, have you ever experienced stuff like that from family? Anyone? Yes, I see your hand there, it's going up and down. Yes. I have, growing up, and that's what Christ is talking about in the gospel. What he's talking about in the gospel is that there are going to be people in your life that are going to try to push you away from the truth, from the true Orthodox faith, from being a true Orthodox Christian. And those people sometimes are going to be the people that are closest to you, like your father, or your mother, or your sister, or your brother. I'll give you a personal example. I didn't grow up in the old calendar. I grew up in the new calendar. You know, the one of the Archdiocese of North and South America. When I was a little boy, my parents grew up there. Now, I went to St. Markella, which is an old calendar church, only because it was the closest church to where I lived at the time. So that's why I went there. And then I realized that the old calendar is the truth. So I became an old calendarist. My mother, I have two sisters, my father, they all stayed with the new calendar. But that meant for Christmas, I was fasting with the old calendar, and they were with the new calendar. And they were putting pressure on me, saying, come on, what are you doing? We're all going to go have Christmas dinner together, December 25th, with the new, you know, the way. And I'm like, no, it's not Christmas yet. Christmas is going to be later, in a few weeks. They would go ballistic. Because they would feel like, what are you talking about? Your aunt is going to be there. Your uncle is going to be there. You're not going to eat with the rest of the family? No, I'm not. That's where it's hard. When you have to, and that's what Christ is talking about. There are going to be people in your life that are even close to you. They're going to try to push you and say, stop being a fanatic. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. You know, get with the program. Stay closer with us, right? So you have that, and you have all this pressure, and this is what Christ is talking about about people. I'll give you an example. I'm the priest of the Church of St. Isidro's. It's out in Long Island, right? For those of you who may not know, and I don't expect you to know, St. Isidro's is a martyr, great martyr. He's one of the early martyrs of the church. And he was an officer in the Roman Navy. But he was a Christian. Back then, you know, if you were a Christian, you were being killed. You know, because back then they had the gods of Mount Olympus, right? And the Roman Empire and Caesar, everybody had to pray to these gods. Well, he was a Christian. And when he landed on the island of Chios, there were rumors that he was a Christian. So they asked him, are you a Christian? And he says, yes, I am. So they put him in prison. And they're going to torture him and execute him. His father, and this is why I'm bringing it up to you, his father goes to him in prison and says, listen, just sacrifice to the gods. Sacrifice meaning like kill a goat or something to the gods and they'll let you out. You're a big Roman officer. And he says, absolutely, I will not deny my faith. I will not deny Jesus Christ. I am an Orthodox. His father basically spit on him, and cursed him out and left him. Now this is his own flesh and blood, his father, who was doing this. So you see, leading an Orthodox life is not easy. But by leading it, the rewards are so much greater because we're close to the church. And one thing I told my children, and I'll tell all of you, is that there are going to be many obstacles in your life. How many of you, any of you here are high school seniors? One high school senior. And juniors? How many high school juniors here? 1, 2. Sophomores? 1. Freshmen? 1. What are you?
Grade 10.
That's a sophomore. Grade 10 is sophomore. So, because you're a big sophomore, you're a big kid. So anyway, high school is the most difficult when it comes to things like this. and peer pressure and trying to live an Orthodox life. And what I told my own children is there are going to be many, many obstacles in your life. Life has obstacles. Life is going to have challenges. You're going to want things and it's not going to happen for you. But do not be discouraged, because no matter what happens in your life, if you stay close to our Lord Jesus Christ, you can overcome any obstacle. Any obstacle. I'm going to get into another subject. And many of you are going to probably experience this soon, if you haven't experienced it already, and that is like being attractive to another person. Either a boy or a girl, maybe some of you have girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever, or being attractive. And you feel that you want to do things for this person, but know this, that if you get away from the Orthodox faith and give into these things that you want to do, life is not going to turn out good for you. And your relationship is not going to be. Because why? Because relationships away from Christ are not blessed. And when they're not blessed, things do not turn out well. Do not turn out well. And even though girls usually have this thing, they feel like when they're attracted to a boy who may not be the way they want, they think that they can be able to change them. Like, I can make him better. I can make him nicer. I can make him kinder. But it doesn't really happen. Because you can't make anybody anything. They are who they are. You have to understand that. But getting back to this, so how should we act towards other people as an Orthodox Christian? Well, orthodoxy means love. But what kind of love? Not love that's lustful, but love that's Christian, a Christian love. And then we should love everybody. And then we should be kind to everybody. And then we should be compassionate to other people. How many of us got brought up into being with friends and making fun of another kid, or another girl, or another boy? We've all done it. If you don't raise your hand, you're lying. Because we've all done it. And we've all been guilty of this. But we don't like it if they make fun of us. We don't like it if they make fun of us. If all of a sudden we're said, did you hear what this person said about you? Did you hear about, and this goes on phone conversations. So, not being judgmental. Do not judge other kids. Do not judge people. That makes you a better Christian. So what do we say? Do the prayers. Like this gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't see your name tag from this far away. I need glasses. First name?
Jonah.
Jonah, with beautiful name, Jonah. Jonah said, do your prayers during the day. Do your cross, like you said. Your first name?
Lucas.
Lucas. Like Lucas is about doing your cross in difficult situations. Keeping the fast. Being an Orthodox Christian, not only on Sundays. Because if we just go to church on Sunday, all it becomes then for many people is a social gathering. Oh yeah, I see my church friends on Sunday. And then after Sunday, go on to your life and you don't think about Christ. And I'll tell you about this. Many people say, why does Christ allow bad things to happen? You ever hear that? If there's a God, why does he allow all these terrible things to happen? What do you think the answer is? What do you think about that? Why do you think wars happen or bad things happen? We had a hurricane in Florida a couple of days ago. Why do bad things happen? Why do wars happen? Why did the Holocaust happen?
Because of our sins.
Well, one, because of our sins and our sinful nature. Yeah.
Just like test us for like challenges.
Test us for our challenges in our faith. Absolutely. If bad things didn't happen in our life, you know what the fathers of the church said? If there were no things that were happening in our life, people would forget about God. What do I mean by that? Yeah, were you going to say something? Or are you just something? What do I mean by that? How many of us, let's say, what happened? What it is that all of a sudden, if life is great and everything is going well for you, many people, I'm not talking about you, many people will just not think about Christ as much. All of a sudden, somebody gets sick in their family, what happens? They run to the icons and they pray to God, please make them better. Please, make my child better. Please, St. Demetrius, please, St. Nicholas, please. We start praying to the saints to make our family member better. But if they never got sick, they never would have prayed. So that's on you. But you know situations like that. Or, please God, let me not lose my job. You're not there yet. Let me not lose my job. Please God, let me get this job. Please God, let me get into the college that I want to get into. Right? But what happens if you really, really, really pray hard to get into the college you want to, and it doesn't happen? Does that mean God doesn't exist? The thing is, we don't see that maybe it wasn't meant for you to go to that college. Why? Because God knows that if you would have went there, you may have gone on a different path and it would have been not good for your soul. Because the key thing is, and you know, you ever hear when people say, why did this person die? He was only 15 years old. Why does that, he was only a young guy, a young girl. Why did God allow that to happen? You hear that all the time. But this is one thing you have to understand. It doesn't matter, pay attention to what I'm about to say. It doesn't matter when we die. It doesn't. We're all going to die. It doesn't matter when we die. It matters in what state our soul is when we die. It matters how we die. Whether we're repentant, whether we've received Holy Communion, whether we've confessed. Confession has to become part of your daily remembrance. Now, you don't have to confess every day. But some of us, what happens? I know as a priest, Christmas comes nearby, all of a sudden everybody wants to confess. Right? Pascha, Easter comes around, I have a huge line of people for confession. The rest of the year, like summers, people don't come. Why? We don't sin in the summer. We don't sin in the fall. We don't sin other times. It's just that people connect confession with like great holidays. And that's not true. You have to have a spiritual father and a life of confession so you can receive the Eucharist. That's the goal for all of us. You have to do that continuously as a good Orthodox Christian. If you have something troubling, go to your spiritual father. Even if it's something that you think that are not, just life problems. Your spiritual father is going to help you with all these things. But confession has to be incredibly important in your life. And the reason we confess is so we can receive the body and blood of Christ, which is the Holy Eucharist. If you're not receiving Holy Communion, then there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. You have to be able to receive Holy Communion, because that connects us back with our Lord Jesus Christ. And if you're not doing that because you haven't gone to confession, then there's something wrong here. So when we lead an Orthodox life, we have to show love. We have to be compassionate, not judgmental, and try to be as humble as possible. Now, it's not easy to do these things. We're all going to slip. Christ knows this. He knows we're human. But as human beings, though, we make mistakes, but we correct our mistakes. The bad thing is not to correct the mistake. So that's what I mean by it doesn't matter when we die. It matters how we die. Because that young man that Christ maybe took away, let's say he died. You don't know how he was going to be when he was being an adult. There's a famous story. I'm going to leave you with this because there's only like a little less than 7 minutes left. There was a woman who was very, very religious and went to church all the time and prayed all the time. She had 2 sons. One son gets hit by a car and is killed. She cries and cries and goes to the church and cries and says, "Why did you take my son away? Why I pray all the time?" A year goes by, or 8 months or so go by, and the other son gets killed. So she loses her faith. She decides, you know what? I'm not going to church anymore. It's not worth it because I prayed all this time. My whole life has been in prayer. And God took both of my sons away. So she didn't go to church. She stopped. She stopped going to church. And about a year or 2 later, she sees, in that state between sleep and being awake, she sees an angel of Christ. And it tells her, "How come you haven't gone to church?" And she says, God is cruel because he took both my sons away. So the angel says to her, "You're wrong. We have a loving God. He's allowed me to show you where your sons are." So he shows their sons, and both their sons are in paradise because they both had confessed and had received Holy Communion before their death. But I'm going to show you something else. That if both your sons were allowed to live on earth, that when they got older, in their 40s, one son was going to have a fight with the other son, and one son was going to kill the other. So because Christ loves you so much and didn't want you to go through all that, he took both your sons early, but they are both in paradise. And then she realized her mistake and what she did wrong. And she went back to church. And she went back to living and praising God for the rest of her life. So you see, we don't know why Christ takes away people at a different age, but he has his reason. We don't understand his reasons because we try to look at it from a human point of view. But there's a reason for anything, for everything. And to try to live a Christian life is the key for each and every one of us. So leaving here today, I hope you at least get out of the thing that church is not just on Sunday. Your life as an Orthodox Christian is every day of the year and every hour of the day. So I thank you all for joining me here today, and God bless you, and I hope to see you later on. If you have any questions personally, you want to see me, you're more than welcome to come up and talk to me afterwards. God bless you, and thank you very much.